Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We are going to that horrible world known as the JRC, but before we do, the usual disclaimers. Usually, I'm trying to keep the JRC about the JRC here, but as we know, all over the news is about the sudden attack against Israel, right? The only thing I'm going to say about it, until I can build my courage up, that is, and have its own separate video, is just literally this, folks. War isn't pretty, okay? We can sit here in our own comfortable homes where we don't have to worry about somebody kicking down our door and shoving a gun in our face and have opinions about war crimes all we want to. But at the end of the day, we do not live on the Gaza Strip. War isn't pretty. War doesn't care if you're a combatant or you're a civilian. People die in war. Innocents die in war. If you want to sit there and from your high, comfortable seat where you feel like no one can touch you and sit there and judge this situation and feel like you're an authority, you're not. Okay? You're not. If you look at the history books, even to our so-called Satan revolution, and yes, I am a daughter of the revolution, folks. But because of that, I looked into it. And if you want to sit there and pat yourselves on the back and say that those who fought in the Revolutionary War for our country were absolutely sainted and did absolutely nothing wrong and were complete gentlemen to the royalists, you're not living in reality. Okay? You're not. What is it that one of our own founding fathers, Benjamin Franklin, once said? War is hell. It is not kind to civilians. It is not kind to particularly civilians on one side or the other. If you want to have some actual perspective on what's going on, you need to come up off of your high horse and pull out a history book. Pick literally any conflict, any war at any time. Okay? Before you go start puffing your chest out and screaming war crimes with your full chest. All right? Because you're not living in reality. You have the luxury of that because you live in this country. We've only had really one time where we ourselves were touched. All right? I'm not going to make my opinions known on the matter because, well, we all know in this country from our own history what happens when you do that. You get tarred and feathered, whether socially or, in the case of our history, literally. All right? Sorry, I just spent yesterday watching complete morons judge a situation that they have no dogs in, so to speak, and feel like they can dictate on one side of the or the other. Just done. 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 except on this one last thing, and it's going to relate to the JRC. We'll move on after this. But if you think that the U.S. sitting there declaring upon others war crimes, and you think we have the moral high ground, then you've not been paying attention to this channel. Because the United States has okayed torture against literally the most vulnerable of us. What do you think the JRC is? They have continued to sanction, and not just sanction, but give federal funds to a school that has the deaths of 6 kids on its hands. Wake up. Okay? Wake up. Because the U.S. has literally no right, none, zip, nada, to go and preach human rights to anyone else when they're sitting here on the other side okaying the torture, the starvation, the sleep deprivation, and the systematic removal of human rights in alphabetical order for those of us who are disabled and have mental health issues, okay? No right. None. None. And those who are screaming it with their full chest, if you watch this channel but you've never heard about the JRC, go and look it up. Because it's not just the JRC, folks. You can't tell me it's an isolated incident when you literally have places like Agape and all those evangelical chain schools systematically child trafficking, sexual assault of those kids, beatings. Yeah, yeah. And let me bring up one more point. The U.S. has literally no moral high ground to stand on when they continue to be the only country besides literally Iran. Iran's in the news right now, so pay attention. You think the U.S. is so better than Iran? The U.S. is the only country besides Iran that still, to this day, has not signed on to the Convention Against Torture of Disabled People. Okay? Okay. All right, now I'll shut up. In the description box, folks, if you are unfamiliar with the Stop the Shocks campaign or the campaign against the troubled teen industry, please click on it. You're going to find all the pertinent links. Please note, in particular, the article written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics, wherein they interviewed, and surveyed over 900 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's so-called behavior modification program. These folks felt so threatened by this particular article that they have threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from the website. NeuroClastic has refused, folks, so please read that article and share it on all your social media. You're going to find also their public statement regards to the defamation lawsuit threat. You're going to see a link to their GoFundMe. That's there just in case the JRC decides to see through with this threat. Folks, when we, trigger warning, discuss the JRC and places like Agape, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of peoples with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please go ahead and use those headphones, all right? All right, folks. This channel is marked not for kids for a reason. We use profanity on occasion and we speak on dark subjects. So if your child is 16 and younger and they are watching this, very obviously parental supervision is advised, all right? Now, we're going to be finishing up on the conclusion of this particular article for this video. So let's go ahead and get to it, shall we? Okay. However, increased awareness of the ways in which aversives can be misused changed that. Not only have new laws and regulations been proposed and enacted recently, but advocates have all been exploring the possibility of engaging in existing anti discrimination, tort, and even international law to address the harm that can be and has been caused by aversives. I'm going to put it bluntly to you folks, we're desperate. We are desperate, and we have been desperate for quite some time. The reason why we keep going over everybody else's heads is because we don't have any other avenue. Okay? The reason why we went to the UN in the first place to report the literal level war crimes being committed against people with disabilities every day at the JRC is because both within the state of Massachusetts and federally, nobody's done a damn thing. Nothing. Literally nothing. And if you think either the Republicans or the Democrats are on your side, let me go ahead and dissuade you of that idea now. Because neither side has done jack. And both of them, both sides, have accepted money from the likes of the JRC and Agape. Okay? They don't care about you and me. All right? When I say politicians, no matter what flag they try to wrap themselves around and don't actually care about the people they're supposed to represent, I need you to pay attention because any political campaign is going to tell you whatever you want to hear until they get in office. And when they're in office, do you want to know what they do? They line their own coffers. All right. Even if you go into politics as an idealist, this is why I have never tried to run for a public office. Eventually, yeah, power corrupts, folks. Power corrupts. All right. So we go the avenues that we do. We make the threats that we do because we have no avenues left to try and protect our own disabled people, people with mental health issues, and the poor folks trapped in the special circular hell of the double teen industry. Okay? Yeah. Let's finish up, shall we? Between the enforcement of existing laws and the passage of stronger, more consistent ones and regulations on a national level, possibly bolstered by international standards for the treatment of children and people with disabilities. The law may, in the near future, be able to effectively prevent and respond to abuse that disguises itself as treatment, education, or discipline. So here's what I want you all to pay attention to. And I want you to listen to me on this. If you listen to nothing else, you want to write me off on my what you would call quasi political speech at the beginning, you want to close your eyes and ignore reality and history, that's on you. But if you're not going to pay attention to anything else that I'm saying this morning, please listen to me now. Our politicians and our lawmakers do not care about disabled people or the poor kids trapped in the troubled teen industry hell. Okay? Do not care. We are not, the majority of us, individuals of means that can line their coffers so that they'll actually pay attention to what's going on. The only way we can influence these folks into starting to do the right thing is to come at them with overwhelming numbers. The reason why nothing continues to be done and these kids continue to be tortured with impunity is because the only ones who've been banging that gong, the only ones that have been fighting and trying to get new laws passed, has been us. So other than lining their coffers, there's only one thing that these folks understand, and that is overwhelming pressure. Okay? So how do we bring in that overwhelming pressure? It's gotta be more than the people who are inside the disability community, inside the campaign against the troubled teen industry by ourselves. We have to have outside help. And not just a little trickle down of outside help that we've had along the way. We need help from the masses. We need at least a good 75% of this country to get on board. Not just watch what's happening, watch these videos, say, oh, that's awful. And because it's so awful, you swipe it into the back of your mind. And then you continue on with your day. No, we need them involved, folks. We cannot allow them the comfort of shoving things this ugly in the back of their minds because they can't handle it. We got to make it real for them. That is why I keep showing over and over and over again the clip of what happened to Andre McCollins. People need to realize this isn't just something that happened once in the past and that the JRC has changed its ways, obviously, because it hasn't. It's doing the same thing right now. While we're talking, there is someone within the troubled teen industry being trafficked. While we are talking, there is a student that is tied to a 4-point board being shocked over and over and over again. There's another student being starved, another one being jumped by staff randomly. There's another that hasn't slept in 3 days. We have to make it real. And not only do we have to make it real, we can't allow these folks to simply walk away because it is too traumatizing and awful for them to be able to stomach. Okay? We got to drive it home. And we also need to drive home to them that just because maybe they don't have kids who are disabled or trapped in the troubled teen industry doesn't mean that their kids are untouchable. Bring them the reality that slowly, particularly in GOP states, the corporal punishment of old is being brought back to public schools, county by county, state by state. And that if they continue to remain silent and allow this kind of treatment to go on and the schools to have full reign, their kids may be next. Matter of fact, knowing rebellious teenagers, as I used to be one, I can guarantee that it will if people keep closing their eyes. We're going to go ahead and close on that, folks. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do get do tend to get removed from time to time. So please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit those comments. I do appreciate your time this morning. And as always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. I'll see you in the next video.